Hello everyone, welcome to another one of my arena videos starring me and Lena. And in the next 9 minutes or so, I'm going to be basically walking through what we did, I guess you could say, essentially. Start off, I usually distract it for a minute while Lena sets a trap. And I will say that I wouldn't say learning, but knowing how to counter will help immensely in this. Because, you know, if you're using Lance, you're going to be countering left and right, from tail whips to roars, fireballs, etc. Or the mud, actually. And one reason to set the trap, right, or one of the traps, by the way, get rid of the right away, is to help kind of get some free hits. That way you can get that paralyze in quicker. Also knowing, like, monsters' movements, like tail whips and such, help, you know, how to help you figure out how to maneuver in a certain way. And like take Diablos for instance. When it does that side to side shuffle, where it basically goes sideways, left and right, kind of in a zigzag. Well, that first one, it has a blind spot if you're facing him. It's on the right. And if you're in that small blind spot, you can actually avoid that first hit, and then you can probably block the tail, or avoid the tail if you're lucky. But with Diablos, or not Diablos, but Bareth, you know, it's kind of a straightforward through. So usually you can counter his headbutts, spin around real fast, and basically hit his tail a couple of times before he goes for another pass. Things you probably want to avoid is the downward headbutt. Like if you're right in front of it, like, yes, you could counter it and do a counter hit, but it basically leaves you wide open for those two dirt balls that come out of his head. And that doesn't help because the water blight, which is one of the ones I hate the most, basically affects your stamina recovery, which doesn't help at all when you're a guy who counters relentlessly. Anyways, now we're on to the Bareth. Typical strategy would be to place a trap right away, and if he goes into it right away, obviously it's obvious that both of you want to attack it. So, you know, he gets into the trap. You know, I stab his head a couple of times, and then what I didn't do in this one right away was get the 2 extra flashbangs, or flash bombs, I should say. Oh, flashbang sounds too much like Call of Duty. For the Rathlos later. Yeah. And some helpful strategies in fighting this, like if you and your partner are both good counter-attackers, is to stay clustered together. That way the Bareth, or actually I'm not sure how to pronounce this one, but anyways, staying clustered together is good because, you know, he'll still keep going in the same direction. Then stay in corners, which, you know, typically people would say that's a death sentence, but, you know, if you're good with countering and managing your stamina, that's actually helpful because, you know, it keeps the cat thing in one corner instead of running around all over the place and you're basically chasing it left and right. So you can actually get more hit, like a better hit ratio over time. Yeah. Usually people would say charging is the most noobiest thing you could ever do, which it actually helps gain distance on this monster in arena, typically. But you know, sending your teammates flying isn't the funnest thing. Or well, I wouldn't say it's the funnest thing, but it's not the best thing to do. That's if you still want to be friends with them. But yeah, I'd say one of the most useful things when it comes to using Lance is to know your timings really well. Because if you know your timings and monster movements, you can basically predict the hit that's coming and counter it without having to keep it in the charge. Like with counter, like most people, you know how they would start the counter and then they'd be stuck there doing the charge if the monster didn't hit them. But if your reflexes are good enough and you can manage to narrow that hit window to like a second to a half a second, you can basically just press the counter buttons together and you know, you can still do the counter, but if the monster were not to happen to hit you, then you wouldn't basically be stuck in the charge. You'd just do a regular upper jab, which is what I do a lot, is that quick instant counter. And I think this one's about to die right here in this corner. Yep, and there it goes. Then we move on to the Wrathfuls. Oh yes, another thing. Always sharpen your weapons after each monster, because the last thing you want to do is be trying to sharpen it when you're fighting one of them. Anyways, back to what I was saying. You know, as soon as it's got its field of vision on you, you throw a flashbang to get the first set of attacks initiated. And you know, typically you probably want to jab, or do the upper jab, because I'm not sure exactly, like if it's true or not, but the upper jab typically tends to have more damage than the regular jab. But anyways, you want to try to keep it on the head or the torso. And for some reason, I think for this one, I think Lena goes for the tail part of the time, which I'm sure it's probably to cut it off. Because if you cut the tail off, its tail range is basically shorter. So, you know, that's helpful. Oh yeah, and I guess this also falls under the category of clustering together, because if the monster is paying attention to one of you, but both of you are grouped together, then its field of vision will be concentrated in that direction. So flashbang, or throwing flash bombs, make it a lot easier to flash them with. Because some newer people tend to think flashing attacks will actually do something to it. And some people would probably say wait to place your traps, but you know, you can, it's pretty much like a place to forget. You can place them, and then you can actually lead the monster to the direction of them later on. You don't actually have to trap them right away as soon as you place them. That wasn't really one of the brightest moves I made. Oh yeah, knowing how to draw into a block also helps for those last second decisions. There goes another instant block. Nope. There you have it. Managed to do it in 10 minutes and 29 seconds. It's not too bad. But yeah, if you have any more questions, leave a comment and I will try to answer it if I can as soon as possible and in the best way possible. And I suppose that's it. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.